Hey everyone, it's Lena, Amy, and Whitney, and we are so excited to be back together. We have something exciting to announce and pronounce. We've been trying to come up with the best name for our podcast, and we are so excited because it's been really hard to come up with something that we felt was good to us. So we have decided to call it Good for Us because basically we want to talk about all the things that we feel good about for us and all the things that we're trying to make even better. So, welcome to the official podcast of Good for Us. How are y'all
Woohoo!
doing today?
I'm doing well. Amy, how about you?
I've been better.
Tell us more.
No, I'm severely under the weather right now. I have a really bad cold, so I apologize for the quality of my voice. But yeah, it's been a long week.
I bet. And I want to acknowledge that you're here and showing up, which I really feel like is maybe a more subtle theme of this podcast is that this is real life. And I think a lot of wellness content I came across in my journey made it seem like if you do this, if you take really good care of yourself, you're never going to get sick, you're never going to have issues. You'll reach this state of perfection, which is just such a myth. You're committed to doing something which also in real life, you can't always take a sick day. You're a mom, Amy, as you talked about in our introduction episode, and you have to show up for yourself and the family. You have a business too, which you've talked about. You show up for that. And you're also here showing up for the podcast and the listener to kind of bring us behind the scenes of your life. So thank you for being here. And that also inspired our theme for today, which was about how we take care of ourselves when we're sick, while also talking about the honesty of sometimes we're going to use products that are branded as good for you, and we're going to use products that some people think aren't great because they're not as natural. So Amy, I think might as well start with you since you're currently sick. What what have you been using?
Okay, so I have a few. So why don't I start with the good and the bad and then the ugly? Okay, so the good. Obviously, the most natural thing that I do for my throat is I do half of a lemon, freshly squeezed, juiced with honey. I use Comvita's Manuka honey. I like the taste, and it has a lot of anti-bad things for you in it. And then the other thing I love, a little tea container.
Ooh, that's such a great container.
I'm obsessed. I have 6 of these.
Love it.
In the cabinet.
Where'd you get that? Wait, let's pause for the container.
This is from Amazon.
Nice.
And they have larger versions, but I did the 4 rows. I've been using this product. Sorry, I need a manicure.
No, that's a classic.
We'll see if it works for me today. I always need a humidifier, and this is ridiculous, but I use the Canopy humidifier.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, so it's
Neither do I.
a relatively new, not super new, but relatively new company that they redesigned the humidifier to where, you know how sometimes when you use the humidifier, the mist gets things damp?
Yes.
Mist, actually, the way it's dispersed, it brings the moisture into your room so you don't wake up with the painful nasal passages or throat, but you're not wet, if that makes sense, with the traditional. This is the selling point for me. What I love is the tank is huge, and you can put it in the dishwasher if you want to, which I don't know. Any humidifier is so annoying.
Yes.
Dishwasher safe. So
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I know it works because I have a camera in my children's bedroom that tests for air moisture. So when the humidifier,
what kind of camera is that?
It's a baby camera, and part of it is measures the level of humidity in the room, and when it's on, it's obviously higher. So it's
That's
legitimate.
awesome.
Wow.
You've come a long way in baby monitors. I thought I was on the cutting edge because I had video for mine, not just sound.
We should have a whole episode about baby products because the products nowadays are so incredibly technologically advanced.
You've got a lot of natural products. I see even more. I love this brand.
What is it?
This is
Gaia Herbs.
Gaia Herbs. I do quite a few more, but these are the main ones that I do. It's olive leaf extract and oil of oregano and then garlic. And then the ugly stuff that I just cannot give up. NyQuil.
What is it about NyQuil that's so addicting?
I don't know. It's the only thing that I can sleep that helps me sleep. And then what I find is it lasts until about 4 a.m. And then around 4 a.m. I take DayQuil because I can't take more NyQuil. So I just start. And and then
Yeah.
Mucinex D, but it has to have
Yes.
you need the D for this to work. It's
You
like
need the D, Amy.
I think I'm gonna should that said that in college. The last thing, there are natural alternatives to this. So this is my bad, but not ugly. I think NyQuil. I mean, NyQuil literally has red 40 in it, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I know. That part
Do they
kills
have a
me.
dye-free version yet? I feel so many people, a lot of brands are doing that.
Probably.
They've
Maybe. I
I
know there's
bet.
a honey version, which is good. The flavor, I like
Okay.
it. It feels it's mental, but I feel it's more soothing.
I have some of the same things to share, Amy. I love that there's overlap, and I bet Lena does as well. You know what I found when I was going through my latest bout? I don't even know what if I could call it sickness because from all my research based on my symptoms, I think it was just respiratory irritation.
Mm,
2 of the 3 of us, Amy and I are in Los Angeles, and we, at the beginning of January 2025, had really bad wildfires.
mhm,
And the air quality as a result has not been great, especially right after that. A I think it was a week or 2 after the wildfire started, I started to get some really intense respiratory issues. I was coughing, I was having a runny nose, and those were my 2 main symptoms. The cough was so intense in the beginning.
mhm.
And at first, I went to my natural medicine cabinet and started pulling out all the natural cough syrups. I pulled out the cough drops, and really, I found with both this bout of respiratory irritation and when I had COVID in 2020, I think it was 2023, none of that stuff worked. And I felt like, wow, this sucks that the natural stuff I want to take is not effective enough because when you're really, really sick, at least for me, I feel like a desperation. And this goes back to something you had just mentioned, Lena, about finding things that are dye free.
Mhm.
My issue is when I'm super sick, especially when I had COVID, I didn't want to leave the house because I didn't want to spread it. I was sending other people to go pick things up for me because ordering things online would take way too long. Even with Amazon doing overnight, sometimes you need something as soon as possible within the hour and you're sending somebody else out to the store or you're ordering delivery.
Yeah.
And the trick is with stores where you can do that, I guess, like, if you had a natural store nearby and the person you're sending or the place you're ordering from can get it for you. But I found in both those cases, my most recent one and a few years ago, I was sending out people that aren't familiar with natural products. And so, A, they don't know where to look for this stuff. B, not every store is going to have that. They sometimes be so specialty, it's a faraway store online. And C, that stuff can be really expensive. And I was actually shocked, speaking of expense, Amy, one thing I ended up getting for my respiratory was the what's it called? The store brand a version of Mucinex, and this is the Mucus DM is the CVS version of it, which I will say was the best thing I took during my respiratory challenges. It was the only thing that really broke things up in my lungs and helped me cough it out, whereas none of the natural stuff I tried was working well enough. I couldn't believe how expensive it was. I think it was the Mucinex itself was $16 or $17, and the store brand was maybe 12 or 14, and I thought, "Really? I'm not even gonna use the whole box."
Do they still require a driver's license for that stuff?
They
Do
do.
they?
Yeah.
Yes, so,
Yeah. Because
I have a
people
Oh.
use it to make hard drugs.
I actually have a funny story about that. So when I don't know if you guys have this feeling, but when you're sick, you just wanna get into the CVS or wherever and get out and get your medicine and go, and so I went in, and because they require a driver's license, the person behind the counter was scanning the license, and it wasn't going through, and I think that, there's a limit to these things 'cause she had done it 3 times already, and it wasn't something was wrong with her system. I was, "Should we figure it out before you scan it again? Because I really don't wanna be flagged for purchasing 80,000, like,
Oh.
Mucinex." And she was, "No, it's fine, it's fine." And so then 6 or 7 times later, she's, "Oh, well, you hit your limit for the month." And I was like, "I
No.
can't legally sell this to you." I was just, "Are you kidding me right now?" I haven't gotten any of them. So I'm pretty sure I'm in a government database for Sudafed.
Oh my gosh. I didn't see,
I
that's
went
the
home
thing.
and got the
I
thing.
think that's such a great story to talk about on the podcast too, because I've never experienced that. Because honestly, A, I'm fortunate not to get sick that often, but B, I don't usually buy the kind of traditional, or I don't even know what term to call it, the style medicine. I only buy it when I'm really, really sick. If I'm just have a light cough, I will use all the natural stuff. It's kind of an interesting experience when you get to a point of sickness that shifts everything that you're buying. And I don't know about you, Lena, if you ever get to that point, but I'm when I was coughing with my respiratory stuff, it was to the point where am I gonna damage my lungs? And so I
Yeah.
don't wanna damage my lungs. That's why I'm willing to take this stuff. And to your point too, Amy, I also got the name brand of Robitussin, or the store brand of Robitussin and the CVS one, to save some money because it's the exact same. But I
Mhm.
was looking at the back of it, seeing red number 40, and just, like, cringing. But I had to put my cringe aside and my ethics aside because I just didn't have the strength to do the research and to send somebody to get the other one I wanted from Whole Foods or whatever store. It just, like, it was a bandwidth thing, and I think it's an important thing to talk about on this show. When we think about the term "good for us," it's also inclusive of our mental health and our energy, and sometimes what's good for us in the moment is to take care of ourselves energetically and financially too. Also, natural products, they can be really expensive and not always accessible to our budget. And
Mhm.
so what's good for us financially might be buying the cheap stuff, even if it's not in alignment with our full ethics. I'll quickly go over some of my natural stuff though that I did try, which was some teas. I really from an Ayurvedic company called Divya's. The packaging is very pretty. They
Yeah.
have a whole bunch of different teas, and they're all designed for Ayurvedic philosophy. I still don't fully understand it because it's about seasons, and I think that's not just necessarily time of year, but it's our personal seasons. I don't know. It's confusing, but I still love Ayurvedic stuff, and I combined these 2 teas. They're loose leaf, so it was really easy to kinda, like, mix up my own little concoction. So one of them is an energizing tea that had licorice in it. I wanted to have nettle, which is really good for your body during this time, and also lemongrass. And then the Immune Boost tea has ginger, cinnamon chip, cardamom, fennel, clove, peppercorn, lemon peel. And these I thought tasted really great. Mix them into my little tea loose leaf tea setup and would drink this at least once a day. Honestly, it was the warm water that felt the best for me. This tasted nice, but because I was so congested, I also started to lose my sense of smell, and taste, and that was frustrating.
Yeah.
And then my other good for you natural product that I hope was doing something is this supplement. I actually discovered both Divya's and the supplement I'm showing from PPO Lab from the Natural Products Expo. And the PPO Lab was at this new trade show that the Natural Products Expo did in 2024 for the first time, called Newtopia. And I met the people behind the supplements, and they are so nice and passionate about what they do. I highly recommend looking up. I was turned off by their name, PPO Lab, to be honest. And then I saw their packaging and I thought, this is absolutely gorgeous. Like, everything has beautiful designs and colors. They don't say organic, but non GMO at least. And they're vegan capsules. So for someone like me, that's really nice. And I could tell from speaking with them. This is the great thing about going to the Natural Products Expo trade shows, is that you get to talk to the people behind the brands. And
Yeah.
with Divya's, going back to them, I fell in love with Divya's because they have the most incredible khichdi, which is an Indian dish that I'm obsessed with, and I could talk about that in another episode. But it was really cool that sometimes you get brought into a brand for one product, and then you learn about other things and fall in love with all of them, and those 2 brands have really been food for my soul during times where my immune system is kinda weak.
Do you guys have a favorite food to eat when you feel like you can't eat? Is there something I just need this? This is the only thing I want.
Bread. That's all I want to eat
That makes sense.
is gluten-free bread.
For me, it's matzo ball soup, and that's something that I actually didn't have growing up in Louisiana.
It's
It
not
wasn't plenty.
common.
No, well, I mean, maybe it is now, but when I grew up where I grew up in rural Louisiana, it wasn't
No, it
common.
does not feel a rural Louisiana dish.
No, but when I moved to LA and I had it for the first few times, it's a perfect sick food.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm
I
like,
hope somebody makes a gluten-free vegan matzo ball soup so I can try it one day.
I have this recipe for this chicken and rice soup that you make this chili oil with red chili flakes and garlic, and you cook it all together, and then you put fresh dill in it and lemon juice. When I'm sick, it's all I want. Spicy, lemon, brothy, ricey stuff. It's so good.
Lena, before
Okay.
we end, we need to hear what you take and
Yeah.
what you do when you're sick, because you said you had the flu recently
Yeah,
or
I had the
something?
flu 2 weeks ago, and I was the only one in my family that got it, which was also kinda weird. First thing I do whenever I get sick that I swear is, like, life-changing is there's a natural, spa kinda place and store near us, but they do these amazing IV drips, and tons of vitamins
Wow.
go into them, and every time I go in there and do the IV drip, I mean, within 24 hours, I feel like a new person. I've done it multiple times and it's expensive. It's like $200. But
Is it
whenever I'm like,
really?
I cannot be sick and I cannot feel like this, like I'll go in there and it's like so fast I feel better. And it's totally, if I don't have 4 or 5 days to be sick, like I go.
Who
It's
does?
easy. Yeah, exactly. I know.
Yeah.
Well, like sometimes you're like, I don't know if I spend $200, like, and
Right.
like it doesn't
Fair.
work. But it's like,
Wow, I've never done an IV drip. I'm adding that to the list of things to discuss in length
oh,
one day
it's
in an episode.
1,000% worth it, in my opinion. Every time I've gotten
Whoa.
one, it's made a massive difference, like, super fast. It only takes, like, an hour. You just sit there, and it's not painful, and, but, yeah, I mean, the ones I do are heavily concentrated with, like, vitamins that are supposed to, like, encourage healing. So that's, like, the number one thing that I love to do, that and this stuff. Do you guys ever take this? I don't know how to
Yes.
pronounce it. How do you say it?
I literally never said it
Oscillocerium.
out.
I don't know,
I know. I can't
but
say it, but I keep that in my emergency sick since I didn't have, like since my thing was an environmental issue, I
yeah.
didn't take it this
Yeah,
time.
I don't
I don't
think
know
I
if you
have
can. Have you
respiratory
taken
well,
it for everything?
it's flu-like symptoms. They have a cold symptoms version too. So, like, the second I feel like I have, like, a scratchy throat, I just start loading up on it. I think you're supposed to take it, like, 5 or 6 times a day. But then I take it while I'm sick as well, not just at the first signs, but I've been using this since I met my husband, which was 15 years ago. He was such a hippie and I lived in Better, California, and he was like in his stuff. And now I use it all the time. It's hard for me to get him to take it. And then the third thing that I always do is elderberry, but it's really like my like priorities with it though. There's so many versions out there. My priorities, which I don't have a bottle of it right now because it's currently unavailable. I want an organic one. I want one that has vitamin C and zinc in it, so I don't have to take 3 different products. But then I also want something that doesn't have a lot of added sugar, hopefully no added sugar, and I want to be liquid and not a gummy, so it's not, like, sticking to our teeth, and it's like, there's only one brand out there that I've found that, like, meets all that criteria. It's like Garden of Life has a,
Oh.
version, that has all that stuff, but, like, it's been out of stock for, like, months and months and months. They have a nighttime version that I haven't bought yet, but I love giving it to my kids too, but it's so frustrating, like, almost all elderberry is, like, a gummy or a liquid that has 5 to 7 grams of
Mhm.
sugar in a serving, a
'Cause it's
lot
tart.
for yeah,
Is
it's
it because
tart,
the
but it's like
flavors
yeah, like, but you only take, like, a teaspoon of it, so it's like, I can even get my kids to take, like, a tart, not that great version, because even the not great version is still, like, fine. Um, so anyways, it's really hard to find, so right now I have, like, these gummies, and I hate giving them to my kids, but it have less sugar over a liquid one, so it's I don't know, I hate the dentists are the worst thing you can do is give your kids gummy vitamins because then they're in their teeth all day, so it's really stressful, but then the last thing that I was gonna show is I started taking this stuff, it's glutathione how do you say it?
Yeah.
Glutathione complex.
Glutathione, yeah.
Yeah, so it's supposed to promote, like, healing, and this one is from Just Ingredients, which is one of my favorite natural companies, it's a mom that started this out of Utah, and anyways, I started taking it, and I did it the last time I was sick, and I felt everything I did was helping. So I don't ever know which thing, and I also have 4 other things I was taking, which we need the whole episode on. What did you take when you were having the flu? But those are my top go-tos.
Did you list anything that you don't consider to be good for you?
The last time I had the flu, I did not take anything that I think would be bad for me. But the one thing that I will take that I feel is iffy among super hardcore natural people is antibiotics. If my kids have strep throat, that's the only thing where I'm giving them the antibiotics right now, because there's so much that it can disrupt in your system too. But some things you just have to have them. So anytime that it's okay, you have to have them, I don't mess around with it. And they're definitely not a natural product. But like your body, I don't know, maybe you could get over strep throat on its own, but it can also get into your organs. And one of my friend's kids was hospitalized for 7 days, and it was because of strep had moved into her body. So it was super scary.
Would the mom not take the antibiotic? Is she
I think they didn't realize that it was strep at first for some reason. And so she had it for a couple of days, and then it just hit her body really fast, because she's
Oh,
definitely not
wow.
the type that wouldn't do it.
Okay.
So it's scary. It's like, I didn't know that it could turn so bad so quick. Well, thanks, ladies, for sharing all your amazing stuff, and even the stuff that's amazing that's maybe not natural, because we don't have time to be sick. We just need things that are good for us. I hope that everyone could subscribe to our podcast and listen to the next episode to hear more products about things we think are good for us. Have a great day.